Hi, 10-4. I got 90-11 on one shot. Consider it hot.
10-4, Mr. Weaver, consider it hot. I got a fuse on fire.
Consider it hot.
10-4.
All right, 10-4, 743. Consider it hot.
Well,
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
you guys do it. 10-4.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot.
Consider it hot. Consider it hot.
Hello, TVEC members and everyone else in our East Texas community. My name is Don Johnson with Trinity Valley Electric Co-op, and I am here with Leigh Denney.
Hello.
Leigh and I are in the communications team here at TVEC, and we look forward to a new form of communication called a podcast. We're calling it Consider It Hot. What does that even mean, Leigh?
So, for me, when I think about Consider It Hot, I know the actual definition. At least I've heard it before.
Right.
But for me, it just means they're letting people out there know, and the linemen specifically in the field, that the line is energized.
The line is energized. Yeah, it's kind of a fun phrase, and I just think it's fun to say. But when we're listening in on the conversation from the dispatchers and the crews, that just means that the line, if it was out, is about to be back on, and we always like the power to be on.
Yes.
So, very good. And this podcast is going to be sort of in addition to the magazine, Texas Co-op Power Magazine, we use for a lot of communications from here at the co-op. And for members, not everybody has time to read. Podcasts have come a long way, and we hope that this is going to be a way people can get some of the information, or at least find out what's in the magazine, what they can pick up and expect there, and all other communications from the co-op that we can share in a way that is easy to get to and hopefully fun to listen to. What do you think about that?
I am excited, and of course, it'll be family friendly, so you can pop this on
Yes, for sure.
pop this on your car on the way to school, and your kiddos can also learn about energy saving and efficiency that we should be talking about every month.
You know what that means? We might end up with the dad jokes like we do on the internal communications. Maybe we should do that?
I'm good with dad jokes.
Dad jokes. Okay, we'll get there. This first episode of the podcast, we're really just kind of introducing ourselves and the co-op and the magazine as well. But we do have some very important things coming up. The magazine itself, if you are a TVEC member, you receive Texas Co-op Power Magazine, except in September, that tends to run a little bit late, and it's going to, because, why is that going to be late, Leigh?
So your September Texas Co-op Power Magazine, that's going to arrive a few days later than normal because the issue will have your ballot for the election as well as candidate information and details for the TVEC annual meeting that's going to be coming up on October 10th. So save that date. So why does this ballot affect the delivery of the magazine? Well, the TVEC bylaws set the dates for the election, and the magazine mailing is set to fit into that timeline. So you can think about this podcast as a sort of, like Don said, supplement to the magazine. And not only will we cover magazine topics, but we'll also throw in TVEC news each month as well. Along with that, we're also planning a series of in-depth episodes to cover some big topics like solar, the grid, co-op history, Operation Roundup, and more.
That's a good mention of the TVEC director election, which is coming up in the September magazine. Jeff Lane, our CEO and general manager, stopped by a little bit earlier, and we got to chat with him about what exactly that does for the co-op and how that helps us be better at serving the community. Welcome to the podcast, Jeff Lane. As I said, CEO of the co-op and 36-year veteran of the co-op. You've done a lot of jobs here in your career, and I was just noting that because the Kaufman County Electric Co-op, predecessor to TVEC, started in 1938, you've actually been here 41% of the co-op's lifespan. And you don't look like an old guy. You're just a couple years older than me. How do you do it?
Yeah, that's good, Don. I appreciate your deception there.
So this is audio only podcast, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good time. I've enjoyed my career here at the co-op, and yes, I started when I was 10.
It's very good.
So yeah. Been here a few days. It's a great place to work, a great community to live in. I just enjoy so much what we do as a cooperative, and the concern that we as a company have for the membership and the communities that we're serving.
It is a unique place to work in that regard. I've certainly enjoyed my shorter time span here. And for the people out listening, we were just talking about a time when Jeff was new to the co-op and was underneath the building digging a ditch for drainage pumps to get water out from under the building. And now you sit in the CEO chair. So, anything's possible. It's an amazing place to be, an amazing place to work. So that's always good. We do have one other unique thing, and that is our board is made up of members, and that election is coming up. So one of the things I wanted to hear your perspective on is, why do we have an election at the co-op, and what does that board made up of co-op members mean, and how does that differentiate us in the utility space?
We are governed by a board of 7 directors, being a nonprofit organization. Those board members are required to be members of the cooperative. Mm-hmm. To be on the board, you have to live in our service territory, and so that means we have local representation of the membership by the membership, and it's just a really good thing. The board kind of oversees the strategic direction of the cooperative. They give us guardrails within which we operate, and they make sure that the company's in good financial condition, and ultimately are looking out for the best interest of the membership, which, by the way, these board members have children, grandchildren, family, other family, and friends that are members of the cooperative. So it gives them a vested interest in ensuring that the cooperative's doing the right thing for the membership, because they know the decisions that they make are affecting their friends and family.
It is fun when it's board meeting day and we get to meet those board members and say hi a little bit, and you really get to see their heart for the community. And almost all of them, you talk to them and they're doing so many things in the community. You see how they ended up wanting to be a part of the co-op community as well, and we are well served by them. We do elect them, and this is an election year. Thankfully, there's no politics in a co-op election. It is just the selection of a board member. You don't have to worry about being Republican or Democrat. You don't have to worry about ads on TV. It's just the magazine. People will receive their ballot on the September magazine. We have electronic voting that we added last year. How is that vote tied to our annual meeting and how we do business? The reason we offer incentives to vote, why do we do that?
Yeah, well, we certainly want the membership to be actively engaged in the democratic process. Cooperative principle number 2 is democratic member control. And so voting in the board elections is exercising your right as a member of the cooperative. It also comes into play. We need to reach a quorum, which is 3% of the membership, for the meeting to be official. And that quorum is determined by the number of votes cast. So it's very important that all members participate in the election process, regardless of how many directors are on the ballot or whether they're uncontested. We happen to have an uncontested election with one director up this year, but we still need you to vote. As a member, we still need your vote so that we can reach that quorum.
Quorum is very important, and that is at the annual meeting. Annual meeting is also very important. I know it is a lot of employees' favorite thing to do because we get to talk to all the members. You've talked about how you enjoy that time really interacting with the people we serve. Can you give us a little preview of what you see coming up at the annual meeting? And you don't have to tell us what your speech is going to be just yet, but what do you see coming at the annual meeting?
Yeah, well, as usual, it'll be a really good time. I do thoroughly enjoy the annual meeting. We have time to visit with the membership. Registration opens at 6 o'clock. We serve a light meal. Business meeting starts at 7. So between 6 and 7, I spend as much time as I can visiting with as many members as I can. And I just thoroughly enjoy that. And I always end up after the meeting visiting with members before they depart and go home. It's just a really good social event. We are able to conduct the business of the cooperative, inform the membership of things that have been going on over the course of the last year, and things that we may see coming up in the near future.
All right. Well, I am looking forward to the meeting. We have some very special things for this year's meeting. It's going to be a little different than before, and so invite people to come out to that. And thanks for stopping by to talk about that with us. And as we go forward with the podcast, I'm sure we'll have you back to discuss all number of topics. It's going to be fun.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, so that is all very good information. The co-op is such a unique business, and I think a great way to do utility service. And we're always trying to communicate with members about what's going on. The podcast adds on to the magazine we've talked about. We also have a lot of social media presence. And, of course, TVEC.net, the website, has got all kinds of information. We want to encourage all members to get out there, see what we're putting out there, and hopefully get some good information for all kinds of topics. What all do we have in the September magazine? Leigh, I see one thing in here that you wrote. You went to the Lineman Rodeo.
Yes, I did. So I got to, thank you to Dawn, write my first article in the Texas Co-op Power magazine. So this was a big deal to me. But what the article really portrays is a POV from myself as a co-op employee, having never even heard of a lineman rodeo prior to working here.
Right.
I had zero intention of writing about my experience there in Seguin, but I guess the best things can be unexpected because, not only was I able to learn about what these guys do in the field as they restore power, but I was also able to catch a glimpse of what happens behind the scenes. And that's what really did it for me. I know I walked into your office and said, I have an idea, and you let me run with it. Because now if I know someone like Mauricio, who did come out on top as the fastest lineman in Texas for speed pole climbing.
Awesome.
If I know he's out there working on an outage, not only am I going to think about him and his safety, but also his beautiful family at home. And that's really how I think co-ops set themselves apart, and I feel very blessed to have experienced that opportunity.
It is really cool to see them down there working. And like you said, the families that send their significant others off into the dark to get the lights back on out in the storm. That's a face we don't really see. And as communicators for the co-op, it's a great look into what that is, who those folks are, and what it means to be a lineman. That's awesome. Another thing that linemen do, linemen eat lunch.
That they do.
A fun thing we've added to the Texas Co-op Power this year has been the lineman lunch column, and we've just kind of looked at several places around the TVEC service area to see where these guys stop and have a meal in the middle of the day, sometimes in the middle of the night. Just depends on how things are going out there. In the September issue, I got to say, I'm the one that's been doing these columns, and it was my idea, and it is really paying back dividends because I have been the one driving out to all these places to eat. And a really good example in the September magazine is the Bluebird Cafe in Wills Point, Texas. I had not been. I'm from this area, and I had never been to the Bluebird Cafe. And everybody said, you got to go. And it was great. It was like really stepping back in time a little bit. When you walk in the door, you just feel at home. There's not, I think I even mentioned in here, there's not TVs on the wall distracting you from sitting down and having a meal with somebody and talking and enjoying sort of a old school environment. And, of course, the food was excellent. So thanks to Andrew for recommending that one. Take a look at what we've got in the magazine there and go visit the Bluebird, see what the linemen are up to keep themselves energetic and out on the road.
And if you are wondering about the other lineman lunch that we have put in the magazines over the past, how many is this now, 8 months?
Yeah.
You can always go on Facebook, and we include them there each month as well. But maybe we'll do a wrap-up at the end of the year.
Yeah, we should do maybe a best of. Maybe we could vote. Have some.
Maybe then I could go try some of these places, and I could decide.
Okay. We'll send you out for the next one. There are some fun ones coming up as well, so take a look in the magazine for that. Also in the magazine every month is a word from Jeff. We just talked to Jeff a little while ago, but in the magazine, Jeff had a whole column on energy efficiency. It's one of our biggest communication points. What did Jeff have going on in the magazine this month?
The article is very in-depth, and it gives a great overview of how all of this works and comes together. But essentially, Jeff's saying watch the clock to lock in energy savings because it doesn't matter the season, electricity is essential. Right. But why is this time of the year so important to focus on? The kids, they're back in school. Temperatures outside in Texas, still hot. You want to stay indoors, and the air conditioners are working overtime.
Right.
All these conditions can cause spikes in demand, and you'll see these referred to also as energy peaks.
Right.
Well, the grid, constantly balances the supply and demand for electricity because electricity can't be stored in large quantities. It must be produced as it is used.
Right.
So how can you, as just one household, one member, one family, help to keep that balance on this giant grid? Well, it's easy, and Jeff tells you that. You just watch the clock and avoid energy-intensive activities during these peak hours, which for TVEC is 4 to 8 p.m. And just a few ideas that he mentions are set that thermostat a few degrees higher, turn on those ceiling fans when you're in the room, so long as you turn them back off when exiting, because, of course, fans cool people, not rooms.
Correct.
You can load up that dishwasher, have the kids load it before they go to bed for the night, but wait until after peak hours to turn it on. And that goes for laundry too. And you can find, of course, a more in-depth look in this article in the magazine, which is now available online. And look for a future episode all about the grid.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I've been here 7 years now, and I'm just starting to get the hang of how that works between generation and demand and everything else. And there's a whole lot to do with the market and ERCOT and all these things about how price also goes with those peak demand times, and cutting down during the peak times saves the wholesale energy costs and helps all power purchases become a little bit less expensive. There's a whole lot to that. And also this fall, we'll see how ERCOT's doing, because last fall we had a couple of times where that evening peak is still very high demand, and the solar and wind energy drops down and just makes it a little bit tight. It will be very interesting to see how that goes.
Do they have those For Dummies books? Do they have The Grid for Dummies? Because I would love to get that.
Oh, you might have to write that.
Maybe.
All of this grid talk and everything else, saving energy, falls under the category of energy management, and we have a whole team for that. What all do they do, Leigh?
We sure do. So we actually sat down with Chris Walker, our energy management supervisor. He's got a great team behind him, and they are going to hone us in on some of the great ways that you can save and what to look out for as we go into the future. One topic that we will talk about a lot on the podcast, of course, is energy efficiency and the ways that you, the members, can save money on power bills. So we have a amazing energy management team, and they wear quite a lot of hats, including energy efficiency education, of course, meter testing even, new energy initiatives, and then maybe, I think the biggest thing at the moment, and maybe Chris Walker would agree, is home solar installations. Chris Walker here, our energy management supervisor. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Leigh, how are you doing today?
I am doing swell. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm excited to hear about all the things that you have to tell us about what we consider hot in solar installation.
Yeah, solar has been a rapidly growing thing in our area over the last few years. We have about 2,000 members that currently have solar installations, and we've been averaging probably about 250 to 350 new solar installations a year. One thing we do challenge everybody to do is do your research and read the reviews before you go solar, though. We have several members that have had a great experience and some that it hasn't been so great. So we do ask everybody that before you conduct any of these installations or before your installer begins, give us a call or email energymanagement@tvec.coop, and we'll be more than happy to walk you through the process.
Wow. So I wasn't aware that there are currently 2,000 members with solar. That is growing. You were sure right about that. So we have plans to cover solar in detail in a future episode. So Chris is staying pretty high level here, but like he said, making sure that you do your research and, of course, utilizing that email and contacting them if you need them. What is one or two quick things that you can share if members are maybe considering solar?
Yes, the first thing, Leigh, which is not really connected to solar itself, but the main thing you can do is energy efficiency. Do a thorough energy efficiency assessment before you install any solar installation, starting with, do you have enough home insulation? What is the SEER rating of your HVAC unit? You want to make sure you are as efficient as possible before you install any solar installation. And that may help you monetarily because you may wind up needing a smaller solar installation because you had made the proper energy efficiency upgrades prior to.
Got it. So you can prep before doing the solar. That way you're making sure that you're staying as energy efficient as possible and as money wise as possible, I suppose.
Absolutely.
So it seems like there's always something in the headlines regarding renewables, grid modernization, and new technology. So what are some things that you and your growing team are doing here at the co-op that maybe our members can be informed about in the future?
Some of the main things we're keeping an eye on right now, Leigh, are batteries and standby generators. And that just has to do with promoting member and grid resiliency. That's something that is of big interest to our members. Obviously, with some of the recent storms we've had and people being out of power, they want that backup power in case of a emergency. Mm-hmm. And so those are some things we're currently really looking at. And another big part of that is smart home technologies. So there's smart home panels and things like that give members a deeper insight into their usage. And that's a key part of all of this is a lot of our members want to know, where did the energy go? Mm-hmm. So some of these smart home panels and things like that help members to realize where this energy is going and when it's going there. And then maybe they can adapt if need be.
Well, I would sure love to know where my energy is going. I think it's going to my 3 kids, but, if they do that home energy assessment, that is great to hear that they can take some initial steps. Is there anything else that you want us to know about, of course, on this high-level episode?
Just do your due diligence. Mm-hmm. That's really what it comes down to in all of this is, does solar work? Do all of these other technologies work? They absolutely do. But just because they work doesn't mean it's the best choice for you. So that's why it's a member individual decision. Mm-hmm. And just because it works for your neighbor doesn't mean it's going to benefit you.
That makes total sense. And of course, as you know, we'll be sharing energy efficiency tips that you can do to prep for that. And then solar might not be for everyone, but when it is, make sure to call us to do your research if you're going to get that installed. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here. And we look forward to talking to you more in the future.
Thank you, Leigh.
All right, so always so intriguing and interesting to hear from Chris and that crew.
I'll tell you what, just aside, I spent the first year that I worked here basically sharing an office space with Chris, and just hearing his conversations and how he described and explained energy and how things work and how efficiency works, hearing him talk about that to other people, to members, and very enlightening and helped me out a lot as I learned what I was doing here. He knows his stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, and Chris actually was a lineman. He did all of that work, and so he knows the field. He knows now energy management, so he is a great person to listen to, and some great stories about him as a lineman, too, that I got to hear at the rodeo. He was quite the rodeo participant. That's
true. Chris also has a column in every Texas Co-op Power magazine, going through several different topics about how to save energy. This month, the September magazine has an article, if you have a mobile home, double wide, otherwise, some energy-saving tips that really help in some of those. Some of the mobile homes don't age as well. You got to really keep up the energy management type items in those. And there's always ways to cut back power usage and still stay comfortable. Another thing in the magazine, this is in the statewide side of things. This is an Operation Roundup. We're going to talk about Operation Roundup. There's an Operation Roundup recipient in the magazine for their statewide efforts in building accessibility ramps for people's homes, and they're very active in our area. They've received several grants from Operation Roundup. That 50 cents or so that goes on your bill every month, to round it up to the next dollar, all that money goes to great causes, and that program is headed up by Director of Corporate Relations, Bobby Byford, who is joining us now. Welcome to the podcast, Bobby.
Thank you, Don. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. And one of the things that's in the magazine every month in Texas Co-op Power and that we want to let members know about is the TVEC Charitable Foundation, better known as Operation Roundup. And you've been a part of that since the very beginning when it was instituted here at TVEC. 2013.
That's correct.
And so give us a look into that program and what it has done and what it does in the community.
What an absolute blessing this program has been. And it actually started, as you stated, in 2013. And our board adopted that program. And as it took off, we were able to round up. And that's where the program, no pun intended, but Operation Roundup, we round up every member who wishes to participate. Their bill to the nearest dollar, and pennies add up, Don, and so they did.
Yes, they do,
and they have added up very quickly, as you noted. And we started through the public relations department, speaking to organizations and getting the word out that here is a grant for organizations that serve members in our service area, and that's whether they do social service, food service, bill assistance, programs that involve in the school that touch children, which involve all the children in our service area.
Right.
Anything that most of them, if you kind of follow the guidelines of a 501c3, that's kind of a base guideline for some of those organizations to apply.
Right, and there's lots of different organizations. There's over 250, I believe, that have received funding, and we just hit $4 million. That seems incredible.
That is absolutely phenomenal because there are many co-ops that have started the program that haven't seen quite this success, and we are blessed by our members, of course. And out of those 254, it just varies. There are so many services and so many things that happen that we don't even realize, but have come to our attention through this program, through our entire service area.
I think one neat thing about the program is that all of these grants, they come in, go to tvec.net, you can apply for
That's
a grant.
correct.
And from the website, the grant gets submitted and comes into your office, to the PR department, and that really gets vetted by our folks there. So just tell me a little bit about the confidence that people can have in the fact that this money is being used in ways that really benefit the community.
Yes, Don, as these organizations apply, they are required to present their financials from the previous year, and that's showing all of their income, all their assets, all their expenses, those types of things. And so those are vetted by our accounting department. And then we also require reference letters that are turned in from people that feel confident about the program and what those programs are, how they are performing in their communities. And so we vet those. We visit with the actual people that apply the grants. And many times we have actually gone out and visited an actual facility so that we have eyes on the actual situation as well. So they're vetted quite expertly, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, that's great. And just to clarify, too, I think for members, it'd be good to say these are definitely in the charitable space and not the economic development type grants that come from a different source. And is there something you'd say to clarify sort of what the purpose of these grants are as opposed to anything else that, I know that there are folks who want to support sports teams and high schools and all these things, but this is a more specific charitable foundation. Sort of touch on that and what the difference would be between that and maybe economic development or some of these other.
As our co-op, we, being a good community citizen, we're approached by many things. Like the economic development, we're approached by other school and civic service club organizations. But the difference with the Operation Roundup program is that we need to see that that's, for instance, a service that touches children. And we know schools touch children, but we look at services like CASA, those for foster children. We look at children's services that aren't met by your normal public school systems and things of that nature. And we also see from senior citizens, even all the way to the senior citizen ramp building, those types of initiatives. Those are not economic development. There could be somebody building a senior citizen center,
right,
but that doesn't fall under this particular umbrella when we're serving those types. And there are other needs because when we see food pantries, those service people in need, but it could be that, and we've given grants for refrigerators and things that are needed to house that food that serves those people.
Sure.
And so those types of things, animal shelters too, because we all know we love our animals, and those things do not necessarily fall under our day-to-day fundraising that you see out and about in the communities, and many times get cut, but the need is still there. But so everything, again, we go back to it's being vetted very extensively.
And if members want to see where these grants have gone, that's all on the website.
Yes, sir.
We try to be transparent with that. There's a full page of where those grants have gone, and application and everything else is online. So tvec.net, go visit that. Any advice for an organization that might want to jump in there and try to get a grant from this?
Yes, I would say if you feel like your organization fits that criteria, or if you don't, you have a question, just call me at the co-op, and I'll be happy to visit with you, and we can walk you through that. And I highly encourage them to do that because we do not want anyone to miss out. The members are very faithful in their donating and rounding up, and we want to use every dollar as we should and benefit every person, entity that we can on their behalf. And those grants, by the way, Dawn, those grants have to be turned in by the first Tuesday of every month in order for them to be heard by the end of the month, that particular month.
Right, so there's a little bit of lead time.
Yes, so there's a little lead time. So they need to know. And if it's a time-sensitive event, then they need to also build that into their
Sure.
planning.
Well, with about 90% of TVEC members participating in Operation Roundup, and it's really easy to opt out, either via the website or calling member services. No judgment there, but that 90% participation has really added up, and as you say, the small change adds up.
It most definitely does. Where else, Dawn, can you take approximately $11.99 a year and touch so many people with so few cents?
Right, yeah, that's that average 50 cents a month. Really
Yes.
multiplies across everybody, and with the way the co-op is growing, we're going to see that grow as
Yes.
well. And thanks to all the members who do that. Thanks for coming to join us, and we look forward to talking about some of the stories on the podcast, talking about where that money is making a big difference in upcoming episodes.
Thank you for those that listen.
I really enjoy getting out and seeing how those grants affect the community and help people out. It's really cool. And you can find a summary of what's happening with those grant funds in your magazine. That is very, very awesome. Another thing we like to put in the magazine are things about safety. Safety is very important when you work with electricity. We are celebrating a huge milestone of 5 years with no lost time accidents here at the co-op. That is from folks in the office to folks in the field, and we are very grateful. You know, it's great to work in a place where safety of employees is a priority. And like you're talking about for the Lineman Rodeo, you get to know those guys and their families, all the office workers and their families, and the importance of providing electrical service in a good way and providing great service is what we want to do. So that starts with safe employees. So congratulations to employees, and all you folks out there should know we're doing a very good job of being safe. I shouldn't say that. Jinx, no? All right.
Knock on wood.
Part of staying safe is being prepared, and September has something to do with preparedness. What's that all about?
So that's going to mark National Preparedness Month. It's an annual campaign to remind everyone that preparing for emergencies and disasters, that's going to keep you, your families, and the community safe.
Very nice.
Every year, they actually have a theme. So what's the theme for this year? And I love this one because we are in communications. It's start a conversation. And as someone who has kiddos, this just touches the heart because, you know, starting that conversation and having those real life conversations with your kids, but your family members too, that is going to be what really matters when it comes down to those emergencies.
Yeah, as a dad myself, I think that is very good. And those conversations change from year to year. So it's good this is a monthly thing. I was just thinking, you've made me think. My 6-year-old is now able to think more deeply about safety and getting out of the house in a fire and those kinds of things than when we moved into our current house. And so I probably need to adjust that conversation every year and reignite it. That's good.
Yeah, they have these drills at the schools, so
Sure.
Take that into action at home too. Set aside a time to talk. Make sure everyone's calm. So let's not do it after sports and football and school and all the things and try to do it at a time like that. Set aside some time. Encourage them to ask questions and don't rush the discussions. And you can always make a preparation kit. So we'll share on our social media page how you can prep that kit and what you would need to put in that kit.
Oh, very good. Have you ever done that with your kids? Like turn the lights off and see if they can get out of the house and things?
I haven't, but I'm going to now.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's like don't fill it up with smoke, but there are some fun ways to practice how you get out of the house or where you go in case of a tornado, and those can be fun instead of scary.
Oh, yes. And maybe we play the floor as lava, so maybe we can do something to that extreme.
Especially those of you who live in Hawaii. Oh, man. Also, a couple of really big things coming up. We've talked about the annual meeting. October 10th, we would love to meet you, shake your hands, see your face. And I know there's going to be a special guest entertainer at our annual meeting this year. This is fairly new. We don't usually have that. That's exciting. Are we keeping it a mystery?
You know, I think maybe we could give some hints.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe the mystery is better.
Just know that you're not going to want to miss it.
You don't want to miss the annual meeting this year. It's going to be great. Of course, there'll be food. There will be the meeting part, the actual business meeting that has to be held. We are a co-op, and we need members to help us improve and to be just the co-op you want us to be. And that is part of community coming together at the annual meeting. It is so much fun.
You'll also get your gift bag.
There is a bag.
Insulated
That's
bag.
Right.
And the recipe book this year, which is new. That'll be going out as well.
Very good. And a lot of door prizes at the end of that deal.
So many.
Yeah, you could win. You could win. But really, everybody who shows up is a winner. Speaking of winners, I want to run back to the magazine real fast because there are some great contests in the magazine. I just want to encourage everybody to pick it up and read it. There are 2 opportunities in the middle section that we do here at TVEC to win $100 bill credits. That's the energy quiz and the random account number. Those are in every issue. That's 2 different opportunities you could win a $100 bill credit. And then in the statewide magazine portion, there are photo contests and there are recipe contests. First off, the recipes are great. But then if you submit one, you could win.
I mean, I think it's a great opportunity.
Doesn't everybody want to win with food?
Yes, the bill credits, that's awesome. I think everyone should participate in that. It takes just a couple of seconds. I think there's an option to email, or I think we've actually gotten people who sent them in the mail, their responses before.
Yeah, email is definitely the way to go. We should have a contest for this here podcast as well.
We should.
What should we give away?
We should give away a Stanley-ish cup.
A Stanley-ish cup? That's right. It's not a real Stanley. But we will give away 1 TVEC branded cup. I may hand deliver this.
Wow.
Depends on where the winner comes from. Let's say you have to be a TVEC member to win this, but let's go with one random person who emails us with the name of the podcast, which I'm not going to say again here. One random person will get a TVEC Stanley-ish mug. How about that?
That is awesome. So where would they email, Don?
That would be contest@tvec.coop.
Well, that's simple.
Contest@tvec.coop. There's no dash in that co-op. You can't do that.
Got it.
All right. So I didn't ask permission to do that. I hope I don't get in trouble for that. And we will give away a cup. Okay, so that's the podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. I hope everybody comes back at least on a monthly basis to check in what's going on at the co-op. We'll try to make it interesting and informative. Until then, take care out there.
Stay powered.
Stay powered. That's awesome.